Hello and welcome to another session of the My Solo 401k Financial Daily Webinar Series. We're excited to discuss Schwab Solo 401k spouse rules. Can you contribute different percentages for you and your partner at Schwab? If you have questions or topics that you wish to discuss, please chat those over as we love to go over questions and topics. We'll jump right into today's topic though today, which is again, Schwab Solo 401k spouse rules. Can you contribute different percentages for you and your partner at Schwab? The presentation is being provided for educational purposes only and should not be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice, nor as a solicitation. When making an investment decision, please consult with your tax attorney and financial professional. So we'll start out with some foundational content just to lay the foundation here. So first off, a solo 401k is a retirement plan for self-employed individuals. So you have to be self-employed with no non-owner, non-spouse, full-time W-2 employees. Now, as you might imagine, there are different options in the market to set up a solo 401k. For example, there are basic solo 401k plans that one can obtain from a discount brokerage like Schwab. And then My Solo 401k Financial, we offer a fully featured plan. So customers, though, can have their accounts at Schwab, even though they have the plan through us. So I think it's helpful to understand that a solo 401k is really a legal entity. It's a trust. And so it's really the documents that create the solo 401k plan. So if you open up a basic solo 401k plan at Schwab, that means that it's going to be Schwab's documents that govern the account. Whereas if you open up a solo 401k plan with us, it's our documents that govern the account. Now, you can use our documents to open up the accounts at the bank or brokerage of choice, including Schwab. Schwab is one of the top options to open up accounts for our customers. In that case, even though the accounts at Schwab, it's governed by third-party plan documents, meaning our documents. So what you can do with the plan is dictated by our documents. So because of the difference in the documents, there's different rules when it comes to how much one can contribute to a solo 401k between two spouses. In other words, two spouses that are working in the same business, both self-employed, both participating in the solo 401k plan, can each spouse contribute different percentages to the solo 401k. And when we talk about percentages, we're talking about employer contributions. So the employer contribution limit is a percentage of the self-employment compensation. For example, if the business is taxed as an S corporation, the employer contribution limit is 25% of the W-2 wages that each spouse receives from the S corporation. So for example, if one spouse receives $60,000 in W-2 wages and the other spouse receives $40,000 in W-2 wages, they could each contribute up to 25% of their W-2 wages. So for example, $15,000 for the spouse that receives $60,000, $10,000 for the spouse that receives $40,000. Now the question becomes, well, can the spouses contribute in different percentages, right? Let's assume that one spouse wants to contribute 25% of their W-2 wages as an employer contribution, and the other spouse wants to contribute 10%. Well, if those two spouses set up their solo 401k plan at Schwab using Schwab's basic solo 401k plan documents, the rules are going to be dictated by Schwab's plan documents. So if you were to look at those plan documents, it would be clear that each spouse needs to contribute in the same percentage. So it's either going to be 25 or 10 or something in the middle, but they're both going to have to contribute the same percentage. So two spouses, or it could be two business partners, would receive the employer contributions in the same percentage of their respective self-employment compensation. Now contrast that with the same two spouses that set up their solo 401k with My Solo 401k Financial, but then had their accounts at Schwab. In that case, those accounts at Schwab are going to be dictated by our plan documents. And our plan documents allow the spouses to contribute in different percentages. So two spouses or two business partners could receive employer contributions in different percentages of the respective self-employment compensation. So going back to that same example, where one spouse wants to contribute 25% of their self-employment compensation, and the other spouse wants to contribute 10% of their self-employment compensation, if they were using our solo 401k plan documents but have their accounts at Schwab, they would be able to achieve their objective. They could contribute employer contributions in different percentages of the respective self-employment compensation. Now, let's say that first example, that first couple that were using Schwab's plan documents, they could upgrade their solo 401k to a solo 401k provided by solo 401k Financial, which would then allow them to make employer contributions in different percentages of the respective self-employment compensation. And that process, that upgrade process, is referred to as a restatement. I think of it as a cut and paste because the plan continues, but now it's governed by our solo 401k plan documents. So it's almost as if the Schwab documents are cut out and replaced with our documents. So it's not as if the existing plan is shut down and then a new plan is created. The plan continues, but now it's governed by our plan documents, which allow them to do what they want to do in terms of different employer contribution percentages. Now, even though they have new plan documents with us, they could still keep their investments at Schwab. It would need to be new accounts because those existing accounts at Schwab are, from Schwab's perspective, are governed by Schwab's documents, but Schwab will open up accounts for third-party plans. So they could open up new accounts and we would help them do that. We would prepare the paperwork to help them open up the requisite new accounts that are now governed by our plan documents and then transfer the cash and assets over. So they wouldn't necessarily have to sell their investments. They could transfer the cash and assets over from the pre-existing accounts for their basic solo 401k plan at Schwab to the new accounts that are now governed by their upgraded plan provided by my solo 401k Financial. Now, as part of that upgrade, as part of that restatement, they'll now be able to access additional features. So not only would they be able to make employer contributions in different percentages of the respective self-employment compensation, they'll also be able to make mega backdoor Roth contributions because Schwab's plan does not allow for mega backdoor Roth contributions. They can make employer contributions as Roth contributions because Schwab's basic solo 401k plan does not allow for employer contributions to be made as Roth contributions. They can make they could take solo 401k participant loans. They could invest in alternative investments like real estate or crypto or private placements, private stock. Moreover, setting up our plan will make the self-employed business eligible to claim $1,500 in solo 401k tax credits, which more than covers our fees for the first 7 years. We charge 100% flat fees. We charge an initial fee of $650, which includes the $525 establishment fee, plus the first $125 annual fee, and then starting 12 months later. So if someone signs up now in May 2025, the annual fee would be due in May 2026. So 1 year later on the anniversary date, $125, and that's for the whole plan, both spouses that are both participating in the plan. And that covers all the ongoing compliance support. So whether they need a 5500 EZ because the total value of the plan exceeds $250,000, or whether they need a 1099R because they're making mega backdoor Roth solo 401k contributions, or whether they need 401k participant loan documents. So we prepare those loan documents as part of our service for no additional charge. So just to give a few examples of that ongoing compliance support. All right, great. Well, that's the topic that we wanted to bring and share. If you found this to be helpful, if you could please that'll help us get the word out to other solopreneurs, other freelancers, other self-employed individuals just like you. Please subscribe on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on X, as we do go live twice a day, once at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We come back in the afternoon at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. You can come and ask questions. You can see what other folks are asking. We've got other resources. You can join us 24/7, for example, on our community, mysolo401k.net solo401k.ai/my community. It's totally free to join. All are welcome. We've got over 30,000 members. It's a vibrant community. There's folks that are asking questions, for example, in our forums. So you can come and ask a question or see what other folks are asking. We have a library of videos and webinars. It's a lot of great ways to learn, to share the knowledge. And then, of course, our AI, solo401k.ai, is a great way to quickly find answers to questions, quickly find resources, which is also totally free to use at solo401k.ai. All right, I don't see any questions at this point. Thank you again for joining. Again, please like, please subscribe, please continue to engage. We appreciate the opportunity, as always, to discuss these topics. Thank you so much.